Sierra Leone, gotta let me show ya. Nigeria, Bioko Island, Liberia, I wanna know ya. Cameroon, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, gotta let me show ya. Nigeria, Bioko Island, Liberia, I wanna know ya. Let it all hang out. DNA brings Sikar people out. The artistic, so gifted. African ancestry gets it. Yes, they black owned for the people. In the roots, they will find your sequel. Genetic test in the process, peaceful. Reunite, multiply with your equals. Black scientists, research it. Invest in that time, you're worth it. Experience feels so perfect. Get on the right path to your purpose. No other in the industry like this. Find your link to a tribe, precise kit. The Mende people, Mendenga, Volanta, the house. I wanna know ya. Cameroon, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, gotta let me show ya. Nigeria, Bioko Island, Liberia, I wanna know ya. Cameroon, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, gotta let me show ya. Nigeria, Bioko Island, Liberia, I wanna know ya. AfricanAncestry.com. The pioneers in genetic tracing for black people. Since 2003, doing what no other in the industry can do. By tracing your DNA to the present day African country, ethnic group, or tribe. What better time than now to find out where you came from? Order your kit today.
What's up, y'all? Hey, how you doing? I'm back. We're here. Welcome to African Ancestry Live. I'm Gina Paige. I'm the president and co-founder of AfricanAncestry.com. You all know we are the pioneers of genetic ancestry tracing for Black people all around the world. And we come here every Wednesday night. I'm hyped. You know, this is my favorite time of the week when I get to see everybody. And I missed you last week, but Wendy held it down. Shout out to Wendy Cherry, our producer / co-host. She held it down for our conversation last week, and I hope you all enjoyed that. And if you missed it, check it out. Check out the replay on Facebook or on YouTube. I am so happy to see everybody. Shout out to Katio Basal, Drea, ZL Palmer's here, Kim, Sydney, Menelik, Byron, all of y'all. Zenobia, Angie, did I say your name right? Plachette, my girl, my Nigerian sister from NOLA. I'm so happy to see all of you here. Juanita's made it tonight. So, you know, we give away a gift to the first person who comes on, but you have to be domestic. Katio, are you in the U.S. or are you still in Guinea-Bissau right now? Let us know so we know if you're the... Okay, Zenobia, you're on here twice. I thought that was you, but I didn't want to say the wrong thing. Carmela Nin is in the house. Thank you for being here last week. You were outstanding, as we knew you would be, because that's just who you are. Lisa Hayes is here. PC Kenny is here. We are... Hi, Mary. Nice to see you. Sequoia. Okay, Kelly Bat. Your name seems new. I'm glad to see you. Where are you tuning in from? Wayne 5XP said, peace and God's good mercy. Gabon is in the house. Well, all right, Gabon. Nandi's waiting for her results in DC. What's goody, Benny Lee? I love it. Our Cafe Cubano Keys. I say it every week. I love that name. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. You know I like to do that. So, did Katio respond? Katio, are you domestic? Well, we'll just do two. If he's domestic, we'll also go with Drea Bryant. Drea, have you won before? You know I don't keep track of these things. So you won an African Ancestry mask. We still have African Ancestry masks, and people are still supposed to be wearing masks. So please go on over to AfricanAncestry.com and check out our mask selection. We have the countries that we share ancestry with. Some of them may be sold out, but there's always just, you can wrap African ancestry without a country. So congratulations. Katio and Drea. You guys are the one. Okay, yes, Drea. Drea, do you have a country? Wendy was very particular about this. If you have a country, Katio, okay, cool. If you have a country, Drea, I can't remember everything. So let me know. Daniel, send us your address. Did you send us your email? Did you email us your address to info@africanancestry.com? We'll get your gift out to you. I got it for you. I haven't given it to somebody else. Okay, so we'll send you a CAR or a Cameroon mask, whichever one we have. So you don't have to just have a plain one. So speaking of the country that you come from, we are going to Salone, to Sierra Leone. You know, we went this past April, for the citizenship ceremony, and 59 people who've taken our test received citizenship to Sierra Leone. And it's happening again. We finally got a date. Some of you have been asking us, have been waiting. Some of you were like, I don't care when it is, I'm going. And you copped your tickets before we even had a firm date. But the dates are official. Our trip will be November 21st through December 4th. You are welcome to come on an African Ancestry family reunion to the beautiful country of Salone. It is a birthright journey. It has been specially curated. And because we've been there once, the second one's going to be even better, because we know a lot of the ins and the outs that we didn't know before. Tomorrow, there is a Q&A call, a live Q&A call with Diallo Sumbri, who is the travel coordinator for the Sierra Leone trip. And the details for that call are in the online community. So if you're interested, if you're thinking about it now, I know some of you are saying, how do you expect me to travel to Africa in a month or a month and a half? We didn't have any control over the dates, but where there's a will, there's a way. So if you're thinking about it for December, then come on the call tomorrow and get all your questions answered. Okay. Well, thank you, Joseph. Good to see you. Ramel Harris is here. Fancy's here. Ooh, old school. We got everybody here with us tonight. Our Cafe Cubano, you coming? You coming on the call, or you coming to Sierra Leone? Which one? We get to put a name with a face. I was on a call this evening earlier with some of the people who have already purchased the trip. And it was kind of cool to see faces with the names that we've either seen in the results over the years or that we've seen on the African Ancestry Lives. We have so much good stuff coming up for you guys. I can't wait to tell you all about it. October, we're celebrating gratitude and finances here at African Ancestry. So this month, our conversations are either going to be around gratitude, which, you know, is a constant. We're always grateful. And or finances. So I'm curious what you guys are grateful for. Put in the chat. Let me know in the chat what you're grateful for, Blind Guy and his wife. I want to know. Clichette, Robert Ashcraft, what are you grateful for? I do a gratefulness, or what do you call it? Gratitude, a gratitude practice every morning. And I feel like I always say the same things. And there's so much to be grateful for. I have this long old list because I feel like if I don't say it, then it might not happen. Grateful for African Ancestry. Thank you, Katio. And I am grateful for the entire team that makes up African Ancestry. It is a Herculean effort of many people make this possible. And so I'm grateful for that team. I'm grateful for my family, my parents, my grandmother, who's going to be 99 years old next month, my health. There's so much to be grateful for. Yes, Kwame, I agree with you. Trevera, welcome. We're talking about in the comments what we're grateful for. Kelly's grateful for health. Our Cafe Cubano Keys is grateful for finally knowing who he is. Yes. Physical and mental health, Romel. Yes. Thank you for dropping that in the comments. And you know, if you don't do it every day, I'm going to suggest that you, when you wake up in the morning, just say out loud one thing that you're grateful for. I have found that it energizes me for the day, and I hope that it will energize you as well. Um, so we have a special guest today. You guys saw that in the intro. Our guest today is a friend of African Ancestry, an African Ancestry family member, uh, someone who has worked with African Ancestry in a professional capacity. And Mbwebe Ishangi is with us tonight. And in addition to being an African Ancestry family member, because you know how we do, he is a former brand marketing strategist for the NBA. Yes, the National Basketball Association. He's a creative. So this wasn't all in his bio. I made this part up in Mbwebe. He's a creative who uses his talents to demystify financial literacy for Black people. He's also an entrepreneur many times over. So hopefully we'll make some time to talk about that. But as a teacher, he focuses on instilling knowledge and confidence in his clients and students so that they can experience financial dignity, some of them for the very first time, simply by enabling the ability to live off of their savings and investments. He does this through teaching personal finance, business, and career development skills that encompass so much more than just financial education. He has many books. He's the author of several books. His most recent book, published last year, is called A Pot to Piss In. Now, how many times have you used that phrase, a pot to piss in? And it explores, I love this phrase, hidden money methodologies. What? Hidden money methodologies, practices of wealth building shared by numerous wealthy families for over 200 years. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I cheated and watched a conversation that he had with our girl, Carmelanin, not too long ago. And I got really hyped. So without further ado, I want to see you guys drop some money in the comments. Let's drop some dollar bills, some bags of money, some currency, whatever it is for our guest Mbwebe Ishangi. Hello.
Greetings. Peace.
Hey.
How are you?
I am Black and proud and grateful. How are you doing?
Great. Amazing to be with you and the family again. It's always good to be in this space, and especially exclusive about, our people and having this really direly needed discussion about gratefulness, as you said, gratitude, and as well as linking that with finances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what are you grateful for, Mbwebe?
Man, I'm grateful for breath.
Yes.
Grateful for sanity amidst all of what we're dealing with, to still be able to understand that amongst the clutter, there's still a vision, there's a focus, there's a path that I try to stay adamant on. So yeah, focus is another piece I'm grateful for. Yeah.
I like that. I need some focus.
We all do.
We can talk about that offline. How do you stay focused? But that's a different conversation. Shout out to Mary Smith, who's here with us. Glad to see you, Mary. So I see you rocking the Cameroon t-shirt.
Oh, yes. That's right.
Tell us what your roots are.
So my roots are the Masa, Mafa, and Kotoko of Cameroon.
Yes.
And I got out in February of 2019. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Now, you clearly, very clearly have an African-centered consciousness in Mbwebe, and you've studied and lived by African principles for decades. So what made you decide to take an African ancestry test?
Well, one of the things that, being African-centered is we talk a lot about Sankofa, right? And to reach back in order to go where you're moving forward. A friend of mine recently, another pivoted view of that is to, moving backwards so that you can get forward to move future forward. And that's the problem I think that a lot of us are facing, is that we learn about our past and we stay in the past, we stay stuck in the past, and then can't use that to bring it to present day and then move it into the future. So being, I would say an astute student of African history since the early 1990s, and then speeding up to African ancestry, I said, well, that's one thing I've never known is, my bloodline. How far does it go back? We all know about the wall, the wall where it goes and it stops. You really can't go any further than maybe your great greats. But to hear about African ancestry and to counter the other one that's out there, right? That's giving you the whole vegetable soup of anything. You're part of everything. I was like, this is our thing. This gives me a chance to see where we're coming from. And more importantly, we've been in a history where it's been demonized to worship your ancestors, so to acknowledge your ancestors, partly because of religion says it's bad to call on your ancestors, but we call on other ancestors every day through the celebration of street names, cities, schools, all these names of these people are still here, and we give them energy. So my thought is, I want to give that energy to rightfully to it should be given to. And African ancestry on point for me. When I saw the presentation in DC, I signed up immediately to get it. So it was just right on divine timing.
And Mbwebe, I remember the first time I met you. I know that you've been, you were around, but we had never formally been introduced until Tony Browder did the tour of the new museum, the new National Museum of African American History and Culture here in DC. And we had ended the tour and we were outside on the grounds where it used to be I guess an auction location or some kind of pillar where enslaved Africans were chained to it. And you came up to me and you were like, sister, I need to know my ancestry. And you handed me your card. And when I saw your card, I feel like it said something about crypto.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Cryptowoke.
Okay. So I'm really, we've come full circle and gone through some twists and turns to this conversation, but I'm excited I know you give a lot of lectures, you've lectured through IKG, you do courses. And so I'm glad that you're here to share some information with the African Ancestry family. Everybody on here knows that we support family here. And so I don't want you to give it all away. We don't have time to give it all away anyway, but we're going to push people to your book, to your courses, because we support our own. But we were talking about Sankofa and we're talking about roots. I want to get to the root of a pot to piss in. Can you talk to me about the roots of that term and why you chose that as a title for your book?
Yeah. So we've all heard, you're so poor, you don't have a pot to piss in or one to throw it out of. And that has been something that's been inherent, through our bloodline. It's been said to our parents, to their parents, and so on. And when I said, well, let me look up the etymology of all this. Where did this really come from? And when I looked it up, I found that it comes from status. So before we had, underwater sewage and plumbing and toilets and pipes to connect water to the municipal, basically you had, you go outside and use the bathroom, or, if you had some sort of outhouse. But even before that, a level of status was if you had a pot that you could relieve yourself in, and you would, relieve yourself and then you throw it out the window, or you take it out and, pour it out the window outside the door. Well, in our situation, being impoverished, being, enslaved through chattel enslavement, that we couldn't even own the ground we stood on. So that alone is poor. But then when someone takes it even deeper and says, man, you're even more poor because you can't even, you don't even have anywhere to relieve yourself and capture it and put it somewhere. You know what I mean? So that was a level of status. If you had a pot in your house and you were able to use the bathroom and put it in that pot, that was considered elite or civilized in those days. So again, that gives the analogy of, okay, in everything that we have, we've been deprived of a lot of things. And the most things that I think we don't talk about enough is finances, because finances governs really pretty much everything. Everything we do in life is about that dollar bill. But yet that's the most evaded conversation that we have. It's taboo to talk about money in our communities because it usually ends up in a fight because someone owes you money from 5 years ago. So instead of talking about finances, we'll party, we'll have all these reunions. But when it comes to money, everybody's tight. We have a $1 trillion purchasing power, but we are 99% consumer and 1% producer. So
Okay,
For me,
wait,
when
wait,
I
wait,
learned
wait,
about
wait, 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 wait. Say
okay,
that one more time.
that we have a $1.4 trillion purchasing power, but we are still 99% consumer and 1% producer. We're not making anything. Everything we buy goes to someone else. So they're getting the proceeds of our hard-earned money. So we talk about we don't have money. We do have it. It's just that we don't have anyone to give it to in our ranks. And so everyone else gets to eat off of it opposed to us.
So
So
let me
that's
ask
what
you this. I'm sorry. What was the trigger that made you start to focus on this?
getting fired from my job. I got fired. I got fired from the NBA not because of my job performance, but because of what I post on my social media page, which is information about the reclamation of African identity, history, and just putting out. I've been doing this stuff since 1991, and I had been in the NBA at that time for 12 years. And I knew they knew within my first couple years they knew, but because of the climate of the NBA, they were under scrutiny because they had an owner that he was discriminating against black ball players. The LA Clippers, the previous owner, they took the team from him. They were under this pressure of trying to be culturally prevalent, that when they got wind of or revisited my writings, I guess they felt that I was a little bit too black, on off hours. So I was let go abruptly. And the first thing I thought about was my cash flow, because this is how I keep the lights on. So
Right.
the beautiful thing about it is I had just come from one of my business trips in Costa Rica, and I had an epiphany that my time was about to be up. And I saw the ancestors telling me, you know what, it's time for you to go and do what you've been born to do, opposed to trying to find another corporate plantation to live off of or live on. So that got me into understanding about, okay, I need to understand what money is. And it helped when I met with my financial broker at Fidelity at the time. And he was a fellow Pitt alum with University of Pittsburgh. And he tells, when I'm filling out my application to pull out money out of my 401k, which I didn't know I could really do at the time because I wasn't astute about that knowledge and that awareness, is I had to put on my application my occupation, and I was unemployed. So I said, I can't put on there that I don't have a job on my, it didn't seem right. And he said, you're right. Let's not put that there. Why don't you put that you live off your savings and investments? And when he did that, that's what created this journey for me, because I realized, wait a minute, people actually put this as an occupation. They live off their savings and investments. So let me understand, what is money and how does it work? How can you get it to work for you opposed to you working for it? And that began the journey to creating the Cryptowoke financial sustainability movement, which then led me into saying, okay, I need to write this. And that's what created the book of Pata Pitsin, Intergenerational Wealth Planning for Black People.
So you said that really fast. And the Cryptowoke financial education movement.
Cryptowoke financial sustainability movement. Sustainability is important, because if you ask somebody how much money would you want to feel okay, we'll say $1 million, right? We'll just off the head say at least $1 million. But we don't really understand that the money that we're even though we're working for, it's not about being rich. It's first about being sustainable. Sustainable means that all of your expenses are covered, and your expenses are much less than $1 million. So what I had through my program, through my course I teach, is called a financial endurance number. And this number basically is a number that of all your expenses that you spend every month, you multiply that by 12. When you get that number for the year, that is what you're expending to stay afloat. That's your FEN. So that's what you need to be sustainable. If you have a job that allows you, or income that allows you to attain that number, then you're sustainable. Any dollar over that is profit. So it minimizes the stress of figuring out I need $1 million to be able to be okay. No, you probably just need $25,000 a year, or depending on the city you live in. Brooklyn, you probably need 65 or 70,000, maybe 80. But the point is that you have a certain number that you need every year based upon your expenses, and then you manage those expenses. And if you start to multiply that by the years that you are going to be that you intend to live, then put yourself on the path to sustainability by having money work for you opposed to you working for it. But these are conversations that we never have.
Right. With the number that comes to mind that we talk about is credit score. Like that's what seems to be the thing that people judge themselves by, not this financial endurance score. So So should we be looking at our credit scores in Broadway? Should we be investing in our 401ks? Like what, give us an overview of how we can march towards this sustainability.
Okay, so the traditional way that we're taught is, as you mentioned, have good credit scores, and then also invest in commodities like 401ks, stock market, etc. Right? That's and we've done that. We've done that. Most people that are professional workers, they'll stay and they feel proud that they have a digital portfolio, right? They feel great about that, but they don't understand it. They don't factor in the rate of inflation, especially if you are going to retire in 20 to 30 years. The cost of that dollar may not be what it is today. Most likely it isn't. So the money that you're investing in now is not going to be what will allow you to live the standards 20, 30 years from now, especially with the tech boom happening. So the traditional models of, having 401ks, the 401k market, first of all, it fluctuates, it's volatile. What I mean by that is that one day is good, the next day is bad. What your broker will tell you is, oh, don't worry about it. Don't think about it until you're, and you're about to retire, which is maybe 10, 20, 30 years from now. And so we don't pay mind to it. But when it comes time to retire, we're close to retiring, we start looking at what we have left, and we don't factor in the fact that recessions highly dictate the rate of the stock market. And most of the 401ks are tied to stock markets. So the last recession we had, in the senior citizen sector of ages 60 plus, they lost $2.4 trillion in the last recession. So these are people that are elders that have done their bid, worked for 20, 30, 40 years and aren't working anymore and living off of their savings, but now the savings are depleted and gone. And when you put it in the 401k, if you lose it, it is not given back. It's a gamble. And as they say, the stock market is like Vegas, the house always wins. Yeah. So you're going to lose money when you put in these, go ahead.
What about a trust? Someone had a question. Could you put that question back up, Wendy? So does this also include having money in things like a trust?
Now that's a more strategic place to put it, because one, trust allows timely dispersions of money. So for instance, if someone dies in your family and they leave you a wad of money, then you can do with it as you will. In most cases, you'll burn through it. A trust can allow you to disperse it in increments. You can say, okay, I got 100K. I'm only getting 5,000 every 6 months. Allow this money to last longer, and perhaps into the next bloodline will receive it, because we don't inherit wealth. So trust not only allows you to disperse it in increments, it also protects you from taxes. It also is a cleverly way to hide it from, not really hide it, but it protects it from government. If they were to come at you for an audit, the trust is not going to be touched. So there are things that the trust can give you that just putting in a savings account or a 401k account is not going to allow you. When you get put in a 401k account, if you put it in a life insurance policy, like for instance, my mom passed a few years ago, I received money from her life insurance and I got taxed on it. Okay, so they took away a third of what she put away for me. So they see it as income. And if you happen to be in a higher income bracket, they'll take away even more in the taxes. So there's so many more conversations, and we only got a little bit of time to go into all of it. But the current money methodologies that we've been given is, and you mentioned 401k. What was the other one you asked? I
asked about stocks, but you mentioned stocks. Somebody asked about real estate.
So I have these are my opinions. Okay.
Right.
Real estate to me is like, it's the same as being a stockbroker. I mean, it's a hassle. First of all, you got to hope to get someone in there. Think about it now. We're in COVID. Some people can't afford rent, and the government is protecting these folks that aren't paying rent. So how are they being able to pay their mortgage? Because the mortgage is still due. Then you got to hope that they don't destroy the property, things of that nature. Now, I'm all about buying land. And if anything, before I would put a person in I'm sorry, we do need housing, but I'm more about monetizing the land. We'll put a garden on it, parking places. It's a $10 billion industry to create that space into a parking lot. $10 billion. So before I would look into housing and the headache that it can give me trying to find the right tenant, have them pay on time indefinitely, things of that nature. If you have a parking lot, or if you're growing food and you're selling that and eating off of it as well, it's a lot less hassle in regards to, you know, the losing of the control and the monetary value of it. Plus land appreciates as well. So it's not going out of style.
Yeah. What I'm getting from this, and especially from that last point you made, is we have to think entrepreneurially about about our assets.
Yes.
You hear people say, you know, make your money work for you, have your assets work for you. I never thought about when you first said land, I was like, well, how are you gonna make money off of land? But you laid it out very clearly, and it makes perfect sense. So this has been floating in the comments. I think we should probably just jump to it. Or if you need to give us a better segue to it, please, brother, you do what you do. But people want to know about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know how we get there, but that's where we need to go at some point in this conversation.
Well, I started out, so the Cryptowoke financial sustainability movement started out in the space of crypto. I was teaching exclusively cryptocurrency in 2015. And I still see it as an amazing opportunity, unlike we've ever seen in regards to returns, not in the 10 or 100 figures, but or 3 figures. We're talking about 6, 7, 8 figure returns. Today, we've seen, if you watch the ticker, Bitcoin is above 55,000 again. Ethereum is above 3,500, approaching its past high. The thing is that people are getting caught up into the hype of it and not doing the diligence and understanding what it does. It is not something that you should be buying and then selling as soon as you see something bad go wrong. Okay. It's only 12 years old. October 31st, it'll be 12 years that the first currency, Bitcoin, came about. There's over 12.
Old?
Yeah, it's only 12 years old. Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's because people have not gravitated towards it. It wasn't until 2017 that the United States went to it, and then they started regulating, and then went through a dormant period from 2018 to when COVID started. When quarantine started in April of 2020, that's when people started reinvesting. We started seeing this. That's because these huge organizations like IBM and Google, et cetera, PayPal, Robinhood, Cash App, now they allow you to buy cryptocurrency. But here's the thing. We're being told to buy cryptocurrency, and what people are going to do with it is, as soon as they start allowing you to spend with it, we're going to spend it. And we shouldn't. We should actually hold on to it, because the way I see crypto is, it's like Basquiat art. Because they're limited, there's only a few of them, and it grows in value over time. Let me put it like this. In 2010, I forgot his name, but this guy he spent, Bitcoin was about $600 at the time, or less than that. But he spent 10 Bitcoins for 2 large Papa John pizzas. Okay. Bitcoin at the time, I think, was like maybe, I think it was $30. All right. $30 a coin. So he gave them 10 coins. Right. So technically he spent $300 for 2 large pizzas. Right.
I don't even want to hear this.
Right.
And
so
today,
Bitcoin,
that joint is worth $55,000.
No, $3.5 million, because you take the value of the coin and multiply it by how many coins you have. So He had 10,000 coins. If he was to multiply
10,000 coins. I thought you said 10 coins.
No, he used 10,000. So
10,000
coins times 55,000 is over half a billion dollars today. And if Papa John was smart and never sold those coins, they're the ones that are sitting on this money. The person that bought it, I know he kicks himself every day. But at the time, people they didn't understand the growth. They didn't understand the possibilities of what crypto can bring. And for me, I see it as, because it has a level of anonymity, because it's not controlled by any country or government, and it's a global opportunity for us to do exchange throughout the world. For instance, African Ancestry could start receiving payments for the kits in cryptocurrency. Even if people can't give it to you in cryptocurrency, once you receive the USD fiat, you could turn it into crypto yourself. So now, for instance, I'll give you an example. I sell my books for $20 or $25. Well, if you give me USD $20, if Bitcoin goes up 100%, that $20 turned into $40. But if it goes down 100%, then it's zero, right? But the way we see it's growing, it's been going up. So imagine if I take all of the money that I'm getting in my business and convert it to crypto and let it sit And we see how in 2 years, 3 years, 5, you look at the ticker and see how it's been growing exponentially. Now we're talking about not only sustainability, we're talking about intergenerational wealth. We're being able to now pass this on. Yes.
That's the key, right? Is intergenerational wealth. That's what you're educating us to do. That's what these hidden money methodologies.
And it's passive. It's passive income. So you're not clocking in to go and work these hours. You're just letting it sit there and simmer. That's the perfect opportunity for us we've never had this opportunity before. But again, it's going to be pushed to us to sell, because now you can buy goods with crypto. Well, when you give it away, then now that person has possession of it. And if they hold on to it, which they will, Chase Manhattan Bank, these corporations are going to hold on to these accounts or these coins, because they're going to grow in value and exponential. And then they could take the returns and invest it in other things. I could take the crypto that I have and take a portion of that and purchase that land I want, or purchase that business, or purchase that home, or pay for college education, or whatever it is you want to pay for. Because our jobs, they don't offer the tenure anymore. And we didn't even talk about artificial intelligence and how jobs are being eliminated. The middle class is being wiped out. So our ability to earn is in question. Crypto isn't just something to do as a hobby. This is something that will probably be the thing we need to do, one of the things to sustain ourselves, because jobs are going to be eliminated because of artificial intelligence and automated workforce.
So let's talk about Africa for a second. Then you kind of touched on it, giving us some sense of global power, but Johnny Jenkins Jr., that's 3 J's, Triple J, he wants to know, is crypto an opportunity for Black autonomy as well as economic independence for African nation states? What are your thoughts on that?
I look at it like this. I'm a realist. And in relatively speaking, yes. But in reality, it depends on who you're in with, right? So for me, I'm more so focused on not so much about the current people that are in place to lead us, because they're leading us to nowhere. They've been leading us nowhere, right? They've been leading us chasing our tails. So my thing is, well, what about as individuals, folks that like you and me and people in this family that understand the importance of doing for self were to come together? Then now you're talking about a conclave of people that has a coffer in, could be the millions and possibly billions, so we can finance the things that we want, the needs that we want, opposed to asking or voting for someone that says they'll do something and they don't because they get bought off or it's not the agenda. So it does offer opportunity for us, but for us to sit there and let someone else deliver the things that we want, we got to dead that. We've been sitting and waiting for other people to bring us one generations, and we're getting lower and lower on the poverty level, the socioeconomic level. So why not take the accountability in ourselves and understand, if I grow this wealth myself and I sustain myself first, and then I get my crew to be sustained, now we have access or excess. So now let's start investing and not buying a home. Let's buy a block. Or let's now start a franchise. Or let's start addressing the hospital. We need a hospital. Let's build one because we have the finances to do it. And we have a labor force of college graduates, because there's over 8.5 million high school and college graduates every year, but only 2.5 million jobs created every year. So you have an excess of 6 million people that can't find jobs, in addition to the fact that AI is on the scene, and in addition to the fact that people in the workforce are already exchanging jobs and trying to find work. We can create those opportunities by creating our own businesses and hiring our own folks if we want to. So I put the onus on us. That's what our ancestors would do. That's what Garvey would have done. That's what he was trying to do. And that's what no other leader has done since, because it makes sense.
You talked about, what are your, look, I'm taking a little liberty here. I think you talked about this with Carmel, but I didn't hear the whole thing. What are your thoughts on two things? Other assets, so gold, precious metals. Is that something that you are a proponent of? And then also susus.
All right. So precious metals and gold. The problem that I have with precious metals and gold is, where do you keep it? It's heavy, right? And you're not walking down the street with a bag of gold. And that's why they created paper money. And you can't trust where you put them, because Fort Knox is not Fort Knox anymore. In 1933, FDR mandated that everybody turn in their gold in exchange for federal notes. So we lost the gold, the ability to possess it, to have value. Plus, not to mention, who determines the value of gold, right? Some enclave or a conclave of folks decide we're going to put value on gold. They might change their mind and say, well, you know what? Let's make wood more expensive, or, you know, cost more than that. Now you're trying to get as much wood as you can. So I'm not in control of the value of it, right? So it's okay to get a couple, you know, it's diversify, get a little bit of everything if you can. I'm not putting my whole shirt into the whole, you know, precious metal thing. And as far as susus are concerned,
can you define what a susu is for people who are watching?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so susu, from my understanding, is it's a group of people that come together that pool in an exact amount of money, be it on a monthly, weekly basis. So if 10 of us put in $100 every week, at the end of the week, we're going to have $1,000, and then one person in 10 gets that $1,000, and then you rotate again the next week, and then the second person gets $1,000 until everyone completely gets that $1,000. The problem I have with susus is that they're short-sighted, and they're very susceptible, because most people that get susus are people that need money. And they know it's always said in business, never get in business with broke people, right? Because if you get in business with broke people, when they get their turn, they're gonna bail out. They're not gonna pay their piece next month or next week. So that breaks the chain. And we've habitually had, now there have been a lot of successful ones, but I've been part of several that have not been successful, because hardships, it isn't just because people are, you know, they're scheming or whatever, but maybe there's an economic hardship. Maybe you lost your job. I can't put money into the susu this month. So the chain gets broken unless someone picks up that hand. So for me, you know, it does help to build small money if you have the idea of not taking the money out. People like to take the money out. I got my $1,000. Why don't keep it in? If you keep it in, then the coffer, the kitty gets bigger. And then have a goal. What do you want to do with this once you get it? Maybe have a goal of raising 10,000. Well, when we raise 10,000, that's going to be what? Maybe a down payment on a house. This is what you can do as far as community building. But we suffer from a lobotomy of culture. We don't we are working with each other. We suffer from the crabs in the bell theory. We still will, you know, we get a little bit of change. We run it, opposed to understanding that if we keep this going, we'd have much more. Because we don't know how to trust each other, because we are not having these intimate conversations about money. As Wu-Tang said, it cash-rules everything around me. Why aren't we having a more intimate conversation about it? If everything we do in life is about money, why aren't we educated on how it works? Why isn't the educational system teaching us how money works? Why are they teaching us how to balance budgets, to purchase your first home, to buy a car, to balance credit? Why aren't they teaching us these things? Because if they did, then we would not need the system. We will be pimping the system the way the system has been pimping us. That's what I teach.
And your work, you know, part of your mission is to help educate us. So educate us as a Black community, so that we have this knowledge and we can be empowered. So
Yes.
let's talk about a pot to piss in.
Okay. What you want to know?
That's a tool for doing that, right?
Absolutely. I wrote that book. It's an intimate experience, an ongoing experiment where my goal for the last 4 years, I have not had to go back to the corporate plantation. And each day we talk about being grateful. That's another thing I'm very grateful for every month that I'm able to cover my FEN, my financial endurance number, my expenses. I'm grateful. And I'm also strategic, because rich folks have this rule they call the 5-hour rule. I teach my students this all the time. The 5-hour rule is this: if you're not spending 5 hours a week learning about finances, you're being irresponsible. 5 hours comes out to 42.5 minutes a day. If we can't take less than an hour, when we spend hours upon hours binging or being on social media, when we get off work, we want to tap out and just do anything, whatever. Take a portion of that time and read about finances. Read my book, Pot to Piss In, and that'll get you straight and get you to the point of understanding that we can own our time. When you own your time, then you can begin to live the life of why you were actually born. Because we were not born to work a 9 to 5.
Say that again.
So when you own your time, you can actually do the work that you were born to do. That's what the ancestors told me. You know, when I got fired from my job, of course I was shook. But then a calmness came over me because I said, wait a minute, I can own my time as long as I understand the money and how it comes in. Well, okay, how much money do I got coming out every month? I figured that out. Okay, so now how do I figure out how to attain that number? Once you attain that number and it's consistent, okay, my time is my time. Now, what else do I really want to do? The things I want to do is these bigger things.
And what I really one of the things I appreciate about you is your creativity. And you know, there are a million books on finances. You know, if we spend our 42 minutes a day, our 5 hours a week reading about or educating ourselves on about finance, we couldn't even read all of the information that's out there, right? Yeah. But there's a funnel. So, you know, at African Ancestry, we are all about Black people. And part of one of our company values is to use Black-owned businesses as much as possible, suppliers and vendors, so that we're getting money from Black people. We're using that money to pay Black people to create a service for Black people. And it just, you know, we're doing our part to recycle the dollar. So the funnel decreases exponentially when you make the focus on us. And your book has done that. But then you have some really creative titles and some creative ways of looking at this information. And so I want to encourage everybody, if Wendy could put the link in the comments, to check out A Pot to Piss In. We've been sharing resources with you all every time we come on African Ancestry Live. It's an app for you to, you know, help your kids with storytelling. It's a game to help you learn more about Africa. It's a book to help you explore this idea of radical friendship. And now we're giving you this resource to help you identify the hidden money methodologies. I love that phrase. I'm going to use that forever. But written in a way that speaks to us about situations that are familiar and relevant to us for our own empowerment. And so I want to thank you for writing the book, and I want to thank you for teaching, because it's not easy, and we need teachers, right? Of course we could figure out what book to buy, but are we going to do it? Are we going to figure out but you bring it here for us, make it easy to absorb and make us better. And so I want to formally thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Number one, I'm humbled by that. Appreciate it. And that's also the angle, because you mentioned there's so many books out there, so many YouTube videos, and they get right into it. The money, I can save you, help you save that. I approach being history as my foundation. The book starts out, the first third of the book is history about money, how how money's been affixed to us, as far as, you know, how it's been used against us, how arbitrage is still very, very prevalent practices against people of color. Today, we can go in and get a bank loan, and you're going to get charged higher interest simply because of your complexion. And then also just something as simple as when you look up Jekyll Island and the Aldrich Plan, or what's called the Federal Reserve Act, and how that put all Americans in it as indentured servitudes, as far as having to pay the IRS and taxes and things of that nature. These things are designed to keep a certain sect of families. It's just 5-6 families called the Big Rich that they set this thing up. The top of the tier is your Rothschild's families. So when we understand this, and then we understand that there's practices that they've used and transferred throughout their bloodlines. Now we're in the information age, and this information is out here for anyone to get and actually implement successfully and legally. The game is wide open. So I see this as, even though this window is closing, because we don't know what's happening in Babylon these days, right? And this is a global Babylon, right? But there's still opportunity for us, as I talk about the focus. There's an opportunity for us to create a certain level of wealth, not so that we can go and fly here and have yachts and mansions. It's because we need to be or put ourselves in a position where we can self-emancipate and deliver the needs that we need and want. Because when it comes down to it, we understand the relationship of when there's a catastrophe, we're the last to be helped. And it comes to a point where we have to realize, whose fault is that now? It's now becoming our fault because we keep asking and we're getting the same result. So if you want to change that, I urge you to consider that 5-hour rule. I also urge you to consider either taking my course or getting the book or reading something about finances so that you can understand you can use this as a tool, as a weapon, not to have this big bag of money that you can use whatever you want with. It's a weapon that can give you the type of freedom in your time that our next lineages are need from us.
Couldn't have said it. I definitely could not have even said that. So I'm not going to say I couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it. That was a mic drop for sure. So, Mbwebe, will you play Fact or Whack with us? We have a segment every week on African Ancestry Live where we present a statement, and then the audience has to tell us whether it's a fact or if it's a whack statement. If it's a factual statement or a whack-ass statement, okay?
I'm with it.
So I'm gonna have you guys ready to play fact or whack. I need you to drop fact or whack in the comments when Mbwebe reads the statement. All right, let's go.
All right.
Here's the first one.
All right, my money is safe in my 401k account. Fact or whack?
So is that a fact, or do you think your money is safe in your 401k? Let me see your facts and whacks. Jenny Lee wants to know about NFTs. We got whack. We got shucks. I don't see any facts. These are all whacks. What say you, Mbwebe?
Wickedy whack. Absolutely
whack.
Yes. Absolutely whack, yo. Absolutely. 401ks do not bring you. Actually, 401ks over the last 40 years have brought people a 1.8% return. That's about the same as you're getting a savings account. So,
and for those who don't understand how low that is, can you just give an example of another type of investment that gives a significantly higher return? Just one. You
can't, other than crypto and whole life insurance policies. Everything else, yeah, the banking system, they think that 2% is, and you got to have 10,000 at least in the bank to get 2%. So if you just imagine 1.8% for the rest of your life, off of what you put in, if you put in 50 grand, multiply that by 1.8, you can't retire off of that, especially with the cost of living increasing.
Right, exactly. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Okay. Before emancipation, people of African descent were 14% of the population and had 0.5% of the nation's wealth. Oof. In 2021, we're 12.4% of the population and have 1% of the nation's wealth. Fact or whack?
Is that a fact? Has our percentage of population decreased and our percentage of wealth increased?
But only by 0.5%.
What'd you say?
But only by 0.5%.
Right, but only by, well, it doubled.
In 155 years. Right.
So are these facts? Is this a fact or is this okay? We got a mix here. We got facts, but we have some wax. It's a mixed bag.
I'd like to hear the wax. Well, if you look at, you got to do the consensus studies. And as it said that, we didn't really own anything when we were enslaved, right? We couldn't even own the ground we stood on. So we had 0.5%. There was a portion right after, if you do the history, we did own a little bit of land and then it was taken back from Jim Crow. But in these days, again, as I mentioned, we're 99% consumer, meaning we buy from everybody and we don't produce anything to get bought from. So that's why we've only amassed another 0.5% in 150 plus years later. Okay, so that's a sad stat. It's a factual stat. And the population basically is, even though we're the lowest, we're the only, Europeans are decreasing also, but we are the lowest in regards to population increase. We're losing because of our death in diets, as well as incarceration and murder. And a lot of that is because we're all trying to attain what? That dollar bill. So if we understood how money worked, more of us will be here. We wouldn't be facing eugenics as well. That's another piece. Eugenics is another whole nother.
Oh Lord, we got to bring you back. We got a lot of conversations here. Do we have another one, Wendy? One more.
Cash is king.
Fact or whack? Cash is king. Fact or whack? I think I'm on a delay. I don't see. Okay, here we go. We got whack. We got fact. Oh, a lot of whacks. Okay.
That's
what
good.
say you, Mbwebe?
So it is whack. Cash is no longer king because one, it's not backed by anything. Actually, the dollar bill is worth 4 cents today, and also credit has actually been the way to build wealth. If you understand how you can use arbitrage measures that the banks use, because they have this thing called a fractional lending system, where every deposit you put in, they 10x every deposit. So if I put in $100 in my checking account, it turns into $1,000. The bank keeps 900 of that dollars for themselves to create other loans that create interest payments, and they get to keep the 100% proceed, and we get nothing. Whereas with credit, you can do the same thing as called credit line increases, where you can do up to 4 credit line increases on your card. If you have one that's $1,000, if you do a credit line increase 4 times a year every 90 days, and a minimum of 25% increase, that $1,000 card is going to turn to $2,000 at the end of the year. The next year, that $2,000 card is going to turn into $4,000. The next year, it's going to turn into $8,000, and so on and so forth. It doubles. So credit allows you to build a level of funds that your job will never allow you to save enough for. They'll never pay you enough for, and you can't save because nearly 2/3 of our paychecks goes towards housing, mortgages, and food. So how can you create savings when you have all these expenses? Well, if you use credit as a vehicle, as a weapon, and not as something to splurge, because we do that. If we use it as a weapon, then we can build a coffer of credit that can be into the 6 figures within a year and a half. And I'll show you how to do that.
So everybody, you can find all of Mbwebe's books and courses at this website, cryptowokemovement.com. He's also an entrepreneur. He's got some businesses under. Show us that one product you peeped before we came on.
Yeah,
the one that's available now.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, when you own your time, you can start doing the work. Company with 2 other partners called Citrix Renewable. So we're in the renewable energy space, and this is one of our first products. It is an electric lighter, and it takes no butane, and it has over 300 charges, and you can basically put it into a USB charger, and you could use this not just for those that like cigars and the other thing, but you can use it for survival methods, and it's waterproof. And the other product we have is a solar flashlight. This flashlight is also able to be a power bank where you can actually charge your phones. It has a compass, it has a radar, it has different lighting systems. It also has a glass breaker, but I also call it a bone crusher if I want to bust somebody in the head or a slice out of a car, as far as a seatbelt slicer. But basically, these are commodities that we're looking into getting because we're in a stage right now where you need to start thinking about what happens if we get off grid. What happens if there's a blackout, brownout? How do you attain or maintain the lifestyle that you have? And the other thing I'm doing is I'm into vertical gardening. I teach people how to grow inside their home if they didn't have land. One piece I use is called vertical gardening. Vertical gardening is basically a component of a pump, water, and PVC a tubing that you use. You can grow pods and grow food in your home because we don't know what will happen if these trucks stop into our communities. We're already the last stop, right? So our grandparents and great-grandparents used to have gardens. We need to get back to that because we are too dependent on the food that we receive from other folks. And if that stops, then we'll be in a position of potentially starving. So we need to be sustainable and also being purposeful in maintaining our lifestyles, because no one's coming to save us but us.
Yeah, well, you created some tools. That solar flashlight, can you break your car window with that too?
Absolutely. This is the part. Yeah, you can use this to break a window with. I use it to crush legs too. I mean, you're gonna walk over, but you're gonna limp down.
Hopefully, I don't need to be crushing any legs, but I mean,
It's a good
hopefully, I don't need to break my car window either. So
right.
What I love, another thing I love about you, Mbwebe, is that you're rooted in history. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell everybody that Mbwebe is the graphic designer for the Remember Who You Are Study Guide, Volume 1. If you haven't gotten your copy, you need to go get your copy, because he did some amazing visuals. Again, back to that creativity that helps our learning, right? So look at this timeline he created for us. I mean, it's just incredible, the level of his creativity, and we have taken advantage of his skills. And you can get the Remember Who You Are study guide online at AfricanAncestry.com. It also comes in the African Ancestry Remember Who You Are identity box. So I just want to plug those two things and the back is beautiful too, that Mbwebe had a hand in creating for us to learn more about who we are. Mbwebe, next week, we're going to have a Kelechi on. I never say his last name right. I'll let you do it, Wendy. Egwim. Kelechi Egwim, who is the executive director of Appeal Incorporated. He's going to be on next week, continuing our conversation on finance and talking about, in part, the efforts that Appeal has made. Rest in peace to Lasana Mack, who was one of the founders of the idea of credit union that Appeal is looking to start. So I want to invite you all back next Wednesday at 7 p.m. We continue this conversation about finances with these powerful brothers that we have as part of the African Ancestry family. Listen, see, here I go. Mbwebe has told us about responsible spending. He has told us about ways to save, ways to prepare for our freedom as Black people. And I hope that you guys go get his book and take some of his courses. Now I'm feeling kind of bad for never having taken one of your courses. I got to course correct my actions and come on to one of your courses. We are going back to Sierra Leone. For those of you who weren't here at the beginning, the next African Ancestry family reunion, Sierra Leone style, will be November 21st through December 4th. And tomorrow at 6 p.m., Thursday, October 7th at 6 p.m., there's going to be a live Q&A with Diallo Sumbri over on the, all the details are in the African Ancestry online community. So please check that out. If you have questions, it's not too late. I think Mbwebe would say that it's okay for you to travel to Sierra Leone if it's within your means. Will you endorse that?
Yes.
That expenditure.
Yes.
We still have masks. So, you still have to wear a mask these days, even though people don't want to. If you want to go in a store, if you want to go in a restaurant, you need a mask. And we still have African Ancestry masks over on AfricanAncestry.com. Wendy's put the links in the chat. And Mbwebe, thank you. Thank you. I am grateful for your presence here this evening, for sharing your knowledge. You don't have to share it, but you've been called to share it. So thank you for heeding that call and helping to educate us all. Well, that rhymed.
Yeah, you did. Right. Deal. Get the deal out.
Everybody, until we meet again, may you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you be whole. We will see you next week at 7 p.m. here on African Ancestry Live. Have a good night, Mbwebe.
You too. Bless everybody.